ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Below the Line. My name is Andres Ramirez, and yes, I didn't forget my name this time. I'm very excited about today's episode. I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Mr. Zach Houston Scott. How are you, man?
Hey, doing pretty good. And this is the second time we recorded this intro, actually, because we had some tech issues the first time on the show.
I mean, as filmmakers, we're pretty used to take two. And especially when I'm directing, I'm the one more for safety kind of guy, if you know what I mean.
No, based on experience, I do.
So how are you again, man?
I'm doing well, thank you. Just been keeping busy with work and yeah, haven't had really time to see anything except today's topic, which I'm very excited to discuss as it's definitely caused a surge in movie theaters and spreading audience reactions that I haven't seen since the days of Spider-Man No Way Home, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it seems like Hollywood find its blockbusters,
No,
if you know what I mean. And yeah, I think I'm excited. Lots of drama with the Nintendo Switch 2, Last of Us 2 coming out this weekend. Just a lot of things happening surrounding the video game and Hollywood meeting. Also, good news for Mr. Tom Cruise. He might finally win his Oscar due to recent news. But before we go there, have you been watching something new this week?
I have actually not really a movie or a serialized TV show, but a reality show or a game show on Fox that I really got into that was recommended by a friend. It's called The Floor and it's hosted by Rob Lowe. It's really cool, actually. Like, the premise is that you pick a category and you're on this floor with 99 other people, and you go up and compete with someone else in their category of expertise for 45 seconds to try and guess as many of the items related to the category as possible. And if you get it all, or before it runs out of time, then you get to stay up and you inherit that person's category and their piece of the floor. And the first one to get all of the floor wins $250,000 US. And it's cool is that every episode they play, they always have like a smaller prize to win. In this case, we were watching season 2 where it was all $20,000 that you would receive at the end of the episode if you had most pieces of the floor. So it was great.
Sounds interesting. For myself, I've been watching a really fun show. It might be for kids, but I really like it. Jurassic Park, Chaos Theory. It's a sequel of Camp Cretaceous in Netflix. I really think it's one of the best Jurassic Park content we've gotten in a while. And it kind of connects the Bizarre World trilogy. And I've been watching Adolescence. I have mixed feelings. Maybe we can talk a little bit about it because you mentioned you liked it a couple of weeks ago.
I did, yes. I mentioned too that it was probably the first time in a while where I needed to look at the behind the scenes footage just to see how they pulled off a lot of these camera moves and a lot of this action, because it just blew my mind the first time I watched it that it was all done in a single take. Or, I mean, if you do look behind the scenes, they took like a full couple days to like do 2 takes a day. It was crazy. So very impressive piece of filmmaking, in my opinion.
So, did you like it because of its filmmaking or because of its story?
I do give credit. I mean, I'm torn because they did announce a second season, but I'm
Oh,
not.
really?
Yeah, they did. We're considering it because it became like one of the most viewed Netflix series of all time, surpassing all of Bridgerton and Stranger Things. So, I mean, it's a pretty big, impact series.
Phenomenon. Yeah.
Phenomenon, yes. And we needed something like that. So I'm not opposed to seeing it continue, especially with where things ended at the end of the season or the limited series. But I do am torn a little bit because its themes were very apparent in what it was trying to convey with toxic masculinity and, just how children are raised in a society today that's filled to the brim with a lot of just access to internet and what they perceive as, bad examples, as it were, or talk just that, difference online that you see all the time, the Andrew Tates of the internet or the
Yeah,
Paul brothers.
I do get the sense, but without spoiling it, maybe in a couple of weeks now that the show has come, we can spoil it a little bit. I like the opening in that first take scenario, but I also thought the first take limit them creatively. Like, for example, there's a plot line where they arrest someone in episode 2, and there's also a therapy session with a female character, and those characters never show up again. So I thought from a like, from a written standpoint, it was kind of like average, because you already know that the kid is pretty much guilty. I mean, if you've seen the trailer, pretty much you know this. So there was kind of a lack of tension, and you don't really get to know why he did it, at least not until episode 3, maybe. And episode 4, there is not even a judge sentence. Like, he pledged guilty, right? So I was confused, but then I watched who wrote it, and it's Jack Thorne. Do you know who he is?
I don't know.
So Jack Thorne, well, it was co-written by two people. One is Stephen, the guy that plays the dad, and Jack Thorne famously wrote arguably the most expensive piece of fan fiction. Do you want to take a guess?
Yeah, definitely. What is it?
Oh, take a guess. Come on, flatter me a little bit.
No, well, it obviously wasn't Twilight fan fiction, was it?
No, it's a franchise that has a play.
Oh, it's not Marvel, is it?
No, it's a Warner franchise.
Harry Potter?
Yeah, he was one of the writers of The Cursed Child.
Oh, well, we'll need to talk about that because I actually did not mind Cursed Child, in my opinion.
I know. I think as a standalone thing is fine. I assume you have not seen the play.
Cursed Child?
Yeah.
No, I have. I've seen an online recording of it, and I actually purchased the book when it came out. And I don't know, I really enjoyed the script. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think his name is controversial amongst the Potter fandom, but the Potter fandom itself is pretty controversial nowadays. But yeah, in other news, do you want to give the Academy biggest news that dropped today for its 100th anniversary?
Yes, in 2027, it is finally long overdue that they have decided to start awarding the stunt community with best stunt design. So, like you mentioned, Tom Cruise can finally get his Oscar nominee. It is very long overdue because they make up a lot of what our movies are nowadays.
Well, to be honest, I think they should give honorary Oscars in that category to Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, some of those 1920s, 1930s silent era guys. I think they should give that to honor where the stunts come from in a weird way, because I think with our Buster Keaton, you don't have a Tom Cruise today
I
in
mean,
many ways.
I get you, but they won on their Oscars back in the day. Like they were notary for what they produced. And I mean, yeah, you could argue they were the original stunt performers. I mean, we'd even awarded the Three Stooges with their Academy Awards in theater shorts, Tom and Jerry as well. But I mean, you look at the people who make up the action movies, and I think a lot of it falls onto Chad Stilewiski,
Hmm.
the director of John
Fall
Wick.
Guy.
Yeah, Fall Guy too, where he made that movie as a celebration to the stunt community. Whether it was a good movie, I personally didn't like it. I thought it really had it lost me right at the beginning where a camera trainee or a camera operator was literally all of a sudden becoming this. I'm sorry, I do not buy that for an instance. Like you have to work your way up, and there's no way they would give this random camera trainee played by Emily Blunt
A director gig.
on a franchise, no less. That is BS.
I mean, I get the reality of the film, but it's a fun popcorn movie. Come on, you cannot deny that at the very least.
Even the fun popcorn elements that I didn't really think were that fun. Like I've seen done better in other movies. Like it's one of the few movies where when Universal dumped it on Peacock after a couple weeks, I'm like, yeah, yeah, this seems about right.
It's a okay movie. But hey, talking about Hollywood, it seems they finally had a big win, especially the theaters. But the question is it enough to save them? Or are we still counting in Jurassic World Park and Superman?
See, does the world really want a Jurassic Park 7 when you really think about it? I know you were talking about Camp Crustacean being like the best thing this franchise has had in some time, but like, really, I think it's time this went extinct, and honestly, no pun intended.
They make $1 billion, so I don't think they'll be extinct. But hey, they might not play in China anymore, so they
Mm,
might struggle to get to that $1 billion. Who knows? I think they're fun, but obviously it's not the original Jurassic Park made by Spielberg. Even him couldn't replicate the magic of that first one with the sequel.
yeah, but even like they are trying to bring back the original writer, David Coeb, to capture some of that magic of the first, but I don't know if it can be salvaged. And I mean, the last time he wrote something for Spielberg, we got Crystal Skull, and we know how people enjoyed that movie. So we'll see.
He's really good at adapting. I don't know if he can write original stuff
That's
because
true.
he also adapted most of the Potter films.
And he adapted Spider Man as well, the first one from 2002. So,
The Sam Raimi.
yeah,
Oh, that's good. I didn't know that one, but I know him from Potter. Uh, but he's very prominent in the written by, so he's a good adapter, and he adapted the original book. And adapted is a loose thing because the book and the movie are nothing alike, but you know what I mean.
true. But I mean, on the topic of probably the biggest opening of the year so far, even surpassing the likes of Captain America Brave New World, is a Minecraft movie, which, I mean, you just have to look at how people even unironically enjoyed in the theaters, like just seeing some of those lines
The
from the.
chicken jockey thing.
Oh yeah, no, they're doing screenings now for that you can go wild and throw your popcorn at the screen if you can believe it.
So, shall we review it? Because I'm curious to hear your thoughts on, is this a good movie or a bad movie?
Well, I can
Or
tell you. Did you want me to
because
tell you straight up?
wait, because I think it's an interesting dilemma, right? The
Yeah.
critics, it's rotten on Rotten Tomatoes, right? The critics did not like this movie, but I would also argue the critics do not understand gamers. So, is it a good movie? Is it a bad movie? Where does it stand in your?
Well, I'll say this. Like I mentioned last week, I never played Minecraft all that much, even though it came out like in our generation. Like I think when the beta was open, I was 12 in 2009. And then when it got its full release in 2011, I just really would play the trial or the demo sometime, but I never really took hours out of my day to play it just because I thought the UI was a little hard to understand and I wasn't really a fan of the graphics, but I know a lot of people that adore it. Like they are literally Twitch and YouTube streamers just dedicated to playing it all the time. So, with that in mind, going into this, I am not the target audience. And from what I saw, I didn't really say I'd enjoyed myself just because of how boring and like to me it's when I talk about comic movies like Batman and Spider-Man and
Star
Superman,
Wars to
Star
a
Wars,
point.
that's how I was feeling when I was watching this movie. Not getting the references, not even understanding like what the appeal was. Because honestly, it's kind of a visually ugly movie to look at. Like you could tell the VFX artists did put effort in, but either there was just some miscalculation when adapting it to like this form, or just really like the overall like appearance or design. Just something was lost in the translation of it all, at least in my opinion.
I would agree with you. I did play Minecraft a little bit. I like building roller coasters and downloading theme parks on of the internet to go to Disneyland and go to Pirates of the Caribbean. Doing all those cool things that you could do in Minecraft. I think one of the difficult aspects of adapting the film is that there is no plot in the game. In the game, you just build and explore. Essentially, the game that allows you to be creative, which I guess was the theme of the movie. But I also thought that the director choice, Jared Hess, right? That's a director,
Yeah.
was a weird choice because you could tell that the opening act, like when we were introduced to the Henry kid, the kid, not
Hmm.
Jason Momoa or Jack Black, he was trying to go for a Napoleon Dynamite sort of style. But as soon as they go into the Minecraft world, that kind of gets lost,
Oh, he
and
was
it
totally out
becomes
of his element.
kind of like a cartoony thing. And I played it a little bit, and they were able to adapt some of the things, like the zombies only come out at night, but that whole plot where the villager comes to the world and is dating Rachel, what's her
Jennifer
name?
Coolidge.
Yeah, Jennifer Coolidge. That whole subplot was dumb.
That was
And
kind of my favorite part of the movie, in all honesty.
but going back into the references, I do think it gave gamers some nostalgia, like the crafting, how they built the swords, was how you made them in the game. But even for me, that I played the OG Minecraft because I think they add more stuff as they updated it through the years. I was like, wait, what? There's pigs that attack you? I don't know this. I just know the zombies. So I thought it was fun, but I thought the pacing was super slow. Like I was like, when is this movie going to end? And it's not even 2 hours. It just
Yeah.
felt so long. And the CGI fest battle at the end is just so, there's no emotion at stake, because I thought another problem I thought the movie had was they didn't know who the main character was supposed to be. I don't know if you had the same uh, feeling when watching the film.
A little bit. I mean, you have the two beard guys, Jason Momoa and Jack Black, and yeah, they're kind of fighting for the spotlight. I mean, to the movie's credit, they are a very good pair that I'd like to see, but I think that's just more due to Jack Black being able to work with just about anybody. And having someone like Jason Momoa play off him, it helps because he's got so much energy. So the two of them are able to really work off and make some of this really bad dialogue work. So, yeah, no, I think you are right though. Like the pacing was just awful, and even I was getting bored with it by the end. And just like you said, the beginning, it did feel like Napoleon Dynamite, and this guy clearly knew what to do with that because he's done movies like that. Napoleon Dynamite. He's done Nacho Libre. I haven't seen some of his other movies. Unfortunately, I need to look them up, but just from those two alone, it really makes a difference. And like when he's just out of his element when he gets into that CG world because he's lost in the effects that again they put a lot of effort into, but they just don't blend well with not the main characters and even with what the movie's trying to convey. Because Minecraft has a very simple art form, and the pixel like it's meant to look bad. It's meant to be blocky like Lego. And if it leaned more towards that look, maybe it could have been better. But instead, it tries to do this realistic attempt, and it doesn't work. And it just feels off and really strange.
I think in that case it would have worked better as an animated film. Personally,
100%.
I think the live action really hindered it because, like, well, Jack Black plays Steve. He looks nothing like Steve. Like, I guess they gave him his green shirt and his jeans, but that's not Steve. Steve has a square face, and he doesn't have a square face.
He doesn't have
Uh,
a beard, even. Like, I never
no,
remember
no, no.
him having a beard.
What I meant by the identity crisis of who is the main character is because the first act in the town sets up Henry the kid to be the main character. But
Yeah.
as soon as he gets to Minecraft world, he kind of gets sidekicked by both Jason Momoa and Jack Black. And then at the end, he kind of becomes the main character, but also his hero's journey was super weird because, like, he, the kids bully him and he's not able to make this rocket jetpack because he's a genius, of course. And
Yeah, of
then
course, twenty
at
twenty.
the end, he just realizes that the problem was that he had to be the test subject. So the bullies couldn't get with his design. And that's how he gets respect. But I also thought the setup was pretty weird in the sense that the sister was in charge of him, the parents were dead, but you really didn't know how. But at the end of the day, I think it's an okay movie. Definitely made for gamers that have played the game. And I don't know whether I can put it in a bad or good movie. Like, I sort of feel it'll become a cult classic because of how people reacted in the movie theater, and it'll become something like The Room, but less bad, if that makes any sense.
I think we kind of have the first unironic movie in a very long time that people will enjoy. Like that did turn out successful. I think we have like what DreamWorks put out in like the mid 2000s with like Shark Tale and B Movie and all that, where yeah, this isn't good, but we'll get a couple memes out of it, and people like kids nowadays will be looking back and saying, "Remember the Jack Black Minecraft movie?" and how like either cringe or even ridiculous it was, but I still have a nostalgia soft spot for it. I think that's where we're gonna go, and it's telling that its box office was so much because Minecraft, being the best-selling game of all time, is a multi-generational game now. Like anyone who's had a computer has played it, and I mean it's continued to update, and even the
You don't even a computer. You can also play it in your phone.
yeah, true, and you can play it on any console that you own. So the fact that it's lasted this long and the company that produced it say we're not doing a sequel, we're just going to keep making quality of life adjustments. I mean, that's to me is what matters at all. Like I think even the beginning with the movie booting up like how Minecraft does is, shows its respect to what it's trying to convey to the gamers.
Yeah, I mean, it was Mojang Studios because now every gaming studio is also a motion picture studio.
Yeah.
Like PlayStation Studios, you know, Nintendo, Microsoft Studios. The interesting part is, do you know what's the budget?
Of this movie, yes, 150 million.
So domestically, it already made 200,000, and worldwide is 351. The
This
question,
movie. Oh, go ahead. The
the
question.
question is, do you think it'll cross a billion?
Oh, most likely it will. It's telling already that Snow White, a movie that came out already for the last 3 weeks, was overgrossed in a matter of 2 days by this. Not just worldwide, but domestically. That's pretty like shocking to see. And even like going into this weekend, it said it was going to make more than $80 million, which even Captain America: Brave New World didn't even make that much in its first weekend. So for Minecraft's 2 weekends to do that much pull already is fantastic.
Really, it's predicted to do that.
Yeah, I looked up a Deadline article. So
Oh, cool. I mean, on Thursday, the 10th, it did $7 million.
mm-hmm.
So it's not bad. I mean, it had a drop from Thursday to Thursday to of 7.7%. That's actually really good.
That is
Like on Tuesday the 8th, it had a 28.6 up, because people went and
increase.
see it to take advantage of that 2+1 ticket sale. So, it's good for the theaters and hopefully it makes a billion for them.
Yeah.
But I think in this case, comparing it to Snow White is interesting because I think the reason these movies is a success is because the filmmakers respected the source as much as they could, and Snow White didn't.
Yeah.
So, um,
No. all my failings of this one, at the very least, I can say it was a better watch experience than Snow White was, because I did see there was an effort to try and make sure it was respecting its source and trying to capture what people liked about it, even if I didn't understand it and I
Or
can't
connected with.
exactly,
Yeah.
I can't connect with it and I can't say it's a good movie because I don't have an attachment to it. And I thought it was really strange and took a really interesting approach to its subject. But I do agree with you. This should have been animated to really take full advantage of what its creativity can do in its world.
Yeah, I mean, and you can even have Jack Black voice it, but it is what it is. But hey, talking about faithful adaptations, The Last of Us season 2 is coming out this weekend,
Mhm.
Sunday night. I was going to ask you, what is your relationship with The Last of Us?
So my brother and I basically talk about this. I think Naughty Dog's milked this franchise for all it's worth because when it came out, the original game in 2013, I just saw it as their standalone single title that, you know,
Supposed to be that. It was
yeah.
supposed to be that.
And I thought, no, this is great. I can see why it's game of the year. It's a really good first person experience, not first person,
Third.
single player experience in a third perspective environment. Had a great characters, great story, and the DLC that came with it, Left Behind, was also fantastic. Last of Us Part 2, I will say this. I don't agree with a lot of the choices made in the story. I think a lot of people have been saying that for years, but it did something by the end. It made me want a third game to kind of conclude and see where
Oof.
the trilogy was going. And I hope that Last of Us season 2 does end where part 2 ends because I want to see what they can do from the third section or the third part if Sony or Naughty Dog were to ever create that third game because I'm hoping they don't Game of Thrones it where it's, entirely fan fiction and they just don't bother doing it. But I'm not opposed to seeing where it could possibly go from there, if that makes sense.
I mean, it does. I mean, I would agree with you. The first game is a masterpiece. I played that in the PS3, PS4, PS5, and in my PlayStation Portal.
Oh,
Like, I
goodness.
played it so many times. It's such a fun game, such a compelling story. Um, this first season was okay. I didn't mind the changes, even though they changed a lot of what made the game special, particularly with Bill and that whole section in the game, in Bill's town.
I actually thought that was like one of my favorite episodes I saw that year. Like,
I
really?
liked it, but I really enjoyed the gameplay of going to the school, doing all that to get the battery. That was super exciting. And I don't know, I would have preferred the action, but that's just me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, I was replaying the game as I was watching the series, so I had a very fresh eye to compare with. But The Last of Us Part 2, I think it's a game that got caught with a lot of hate because it got released during COVID.
Did it?
It got Yeah, it was 2020.
Oh man, it's been that long. Holy
It
jeez.
got released during COVID and it got leaked. And apparently, I mean, Naughty Dog also did like the switch and bait marketing tactic where the trailers did not match the actual final product. They kind of played with audiences' expectations. Now, I've tried to play the second game again since the original release date. And to Neil Druckmann's credit, I felt sad. I felt miserable playing. And he has said that that was his goal. But that also caused me not to be able to finish it passing the midpoint.
Mm.
Now,
Well, just to let
now
you finish, uh, poor Neil Cuckman being able to, yeah, make you feel that way shouldn't be what you do in a game, but that's my opinion.
I agree. I mean, I could respect it from an artist's point of view. I do think the show has the potential to fix the mistakes that the game did in the narrative, right? Because
Yeah.
I think if, like, you remember the flashbacks that Joel has with Ellie halfway through the game as Ellie is in her revenge quest to go avenge someone, and she's in this war with these factions and all of that. I think if they start the season with those flashbacks and shows their fallout, which is how the game begins, it would be more the midpoint of the game. Well, it's not even the midpoint, it's the first arc turning point, would be much more emotionally devastating because they were dad and daughter, and then they have this argument, and that causes them to break. But as he's trying to make it better, that midpoint happens. And I think the show has the potential because I also think they're only adapting half of the game for this season.
I hope that's not the case. Because, again, I really wouldn't mind seeing a third part in the sense. If this is meant to be a duology, fine, then so be it. But I really wouldn't mind seeing a proper or a more satisfactory conclusion to the story, if that makes sense.
Well, Neil Druckmann said that there's no part three coming though. I mean, they just released the Last of Us Complete Edition. If you're curious what that includes, it includes a remastered version of the part one and part two, just packaged in a different way. Because those remasters do exist for the PS5.
Yeah, you definitely don't have any sort of way to not play it at this point. It's on PC and it's on 3 generations of PlayStation.
It
So,
doesn't run well on PC.
oh, good to know.
It doesn't run well on PC. But my question to you is, as we're capping the show today, if they adapted faithfully, which is interesting because we were talking about adapting faithfully in the case of Minecraft, do you think that would kill the show?
I mean, that's always going to be that fine balance. I mean, I always look Scott Pilgrim takes off as like the example of subverting people's expectations, but giving them something they probably didn't even know they wanted. Like that was a show that going in, it was marketed as just being like an animated adaptation of the comics, which already we had an adaptation of the live action movie. So what was the point in that? But without going into spoilers, the first episode clearly makes a point at the end where it's not going to follow that story the way you're thinking. And it kept us guessing towards the end. So, I mean, a balance like that is someone is always going to take liberties when adapting something, but at the very least, it should stay truthful to what the ideologies and what the creators intended to be, in my opinion.
I'm not I'm not saying that should not happen. I'm saying if by the I mean that would be what the second, third episode that happens, do you think the momentum would be killed? Essentially, do you think the show would make its audience feel miserable because that's the intended goal that Neil Druckmann had when you play the game? I get that the medium is different because in one you're playing and then there's a character switch that comes out of the no. Well, hey Zach, I'm sorry to our audience for that weird abrupt cut, but today I guess we've experienced glitches, as they call it. What were we talking about, Zach?
Well, the games we were talking about, The Last of Us, and if season 2 would be a faithful adaptation of part 2. Which, on that note, it's funny how we've had all these tech glitches since we
And
talked.
we're becoming like a game. We need to be updated. We need to be patched. We're like a game early release. So, what were we saying again?
You were talking about whether or not it would be a faithful adaptation if people would accept something from,
Oh, yeah.
episode 3 or 4 to get that feeling of sadness and despair or melancholy, really.
Yeah, so I guess my question is, do you think that would be accepted?
I mean, online media is going to have a field day with it, and how people take it in, that's up to them for the average viewer. But it's the same thing like watching Game of Thrones for the first time and having people who read the books versus people who didn't read the books. someone's going to discover it and they'll definitely have opinions on it. But, you know, it's there and it's not going to take away anything since they'll be in the know now.
So, are you watching Last of Us Part 2
Oh, yeah, I
or
definitely will. I
Season
will.
2? So, just to let the audience know, the critics loved it. It's certified fresh in Rotten Tomatoes. It has 93 score Rotten Tomatoes, 92 by the top critics. So only out of the 26 top critics, 24 gave it a fresh score and only 2 gave it a Rotten. And it has an 8.40 out of 10.
Hmm.
So I guess the critics loved it, but I could argue the same thing happened with part 2, the game, and the fans did not like it. So I guess it's to be seen how the fans will react. I just think people that have not played the game are in for a whiplash if they adapt it super faithfully.
I agree. I agree.
So hopefully it's fun. I'm sure we'll talk about it next week. Also, next week, Daredevil wraps up.
Yeah.
Are you excited?
Well, with the last night's episode being as well as it was, and actually, fun fact, that's when the new showrunners took over from episode 1. I think we're in good hands for a strong finale.
So, do you think Karen will come back?
Maybe. That's not
Well,
stupid here.
I just don't like Heather that much. She's such a ungrateful person. But I loved it. I loved the ending of the last episode. Like that visual imagery with Kingpin, Daredevil, and the white and red. If you know what I mean by that, you know what I mean. It was so cool how the episode ended, and it parallels the first episode in some ways.
Yeah.
But I'm sure maybe next week we'll talk about it in length, and maybe we'll start talking spoilers. We'll obviously give a warning, but yeah, lots of things happening. Unfortunately for Disney, it doesn't seem to be a success.
Yeah. That's, I mean, yeah. Maybe people are just tired of Marvel finally.
Maybe they are. So I think this is as good as it'll get. So do you want to sign us out or anything else you want to say?
No, I think we're good. Thanks for watching, folks, despite all the technical glitches. I'm Zach Houston. You can find me on the Zach Houston on Instagram. He's Andres Ramirez. You can find him at Jero2096 on Instagram. I always get that
Oh, I was not making it quiet. It was just to get you excited that the show is over.
right. It's a false ending. And you can follow us at Below the Line 2025. So take it easy, folks.
Also, since this is a gaming episode, we apologize, but we're in beta test. Also, I hope that for all the Canadians, Americans, and even Mexicans, we had news for that Switch 2 release date. Or no, not release date, pre-orders. Such a weird console release, Zach, but
Yeah.
we'll persevere. We got Last of Us to keep us going. So, with that, goodbye, people. Bye,
Good night.
Zach.
Bye. See you later, man. Good night. Nice to be there, yeah.
Bye bye.